हरे कृष्णा। तो आप लोग को पता है टॉपिक क्या है? किसी को पता है? हाथ ऊपर करिए। टॉपिक किसको पता है?
Strength personified Balaram ji.
Strength personified Lord Balaram, right? तो सो क्यों हम लोग डिस्कस कर रहे हैं लॉर्ड बलराम के ऊपर? ऐसा क्या स्पेशल है? यूजुअली तो हम लोग भगवद गीता के क्लासेस लेते हैं, जनरल टॉपिक ले लेते हैं यूथ के लिए हम लोग कि हाउ टू टैकल योर डेली लाइफ, यू नो, व्हाई वी आर डिस्कसिंग अबाउट लॉर्ड बलराम स्पेसिफिकली। यानी हाथ ऊपर करके बोलिए, रैंडम आंसर। अपीयरेंस डे, बर्थ, लॉर्ड इज नॉट सब्जेक्टेड टू बर्थ एंड डेथ, सो नॉट बर्थडे, अपीयरेंस, so that is the correct answer। और इससे पहले भी क्या चल रहा है किसी को पता? What is going on? हाथ ऊपर किया नहीं किसी ने, अभी भी नहीं किया। क्या चल रहा है? क्यों करते हैं झूलन यात्रा? Any reasons? अब इस बार हाथ ऊपर करके बताइए क्यों कर रहे हैं ऐसे? मतलब आप लोग बस मंदिर आ गए, किसी ने आपको एक डोरी थमा दी और बोला खींचो, पतंग उड़ा रहे हैं, क्या कर रहे हैं? क्यों कर रहे हैं झूलन यात्रा? क्यों कर रहे हैं? Why are we doing it? We always stress upon this one thing that, you know, spiritual life is very practical, right? But when it comes to festival, they are just mere celebrations for us. So if we don't actually know the spirit behind all these festivals, you know, that is not spiritual. You are removing the spirit from it, so it just becomes a ritual, right? So why are we doing this Julan Yatra? क्यों कर रहे हैं लोग? Julan Yatra क्यों कर रहे हैं? क्या reason है? किसी को पता है आप में से? पक्का नहीं पता? किसी को भी पता? स्पेकुलेट नहीं करना, हाथ ऊपर करिए किसी को पता है तो बताइए। No one, right? So झूलन यात्रा इसलिए है because it is actually celebrated, you know, as because Lord advented on this planet 5,000 years back, right? So that is that celebration, and as well as to teach us practically how we can serve their Lordship. It's not just हमको पता ही नहीं स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड में जाके हम क्या करने वाले हैं, तो फिर why are we hankering? You know, everyone knows that once I study, once I get good marks, get admission in good reputed colleges, get placement in good companies, I'm gonna earn something big, and then I'm gonna lead a life which is comfortable and happy. No, in this case, nothing of the both hold true, that is, but still we are doing it, right? We all know that there is no comfortable position in this material world, and it is very difficult to remain happy always in this material world. Still, for that flickering position of life, we are hankering so much, right? But when it comes to our spiritual position, you know, we are not endeavoring for that. These temples, these, you know, oases created by Srila Prabhupada are for us, so that we can actually get some practical experience how to serve the Lordships. So now, like, you know, today it won't be hamara, we can say, is not some pastimes. We have been hearing, you know, Balaram Katha and everything, but let us try to delve deep into philosophy first, right? Unless and until you work hard, you won't be able to enjoy it. Anyone has practical experience? आपको सब कुछ लाके दे दिया जाए, you know, when you get things, you won't be able to enjoy it. You may take it for granted, which is true for most of the cases, right? हमको कोई चीज़ easily मिल जाती है, हमको उसका इतना अहमियत नहीं पता होता. But when we work hard to get something, you know, then we come to know, okay, this is what it is. You know, this is what it takes to get this thing. So today we'll be discussing mostly about one aspect, that is philosophy. You know, who is Lord Balaram? Why? How can we get the strength from him? What is that strength factor and everything? So on these particular festivals, you know, what we do is glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is what we do, right? And in our case, it is personality of Godhead, Lord Balaram, which we'll be doing today because tomorrow is Balaram Purnima. So this is one of the thing. And after Balaram Purnima comes what? Any idea? Still no hands raised. Directly answer. Okay. Janmashtami. After Janmashtami? Between that, the very next day.
Prabhupada appearance.
Yes. Vyasa Puja. So that is also two of the festivals which are coming now. So that is what we see. And when we celebrate this Janmashtami festival, we always begin with this verse, Janma karma che me divyam evam yogeti tadava tekva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. What does this particular shloka means? That the birth, or we can say the appearance of the Lord, Janma karma, and his activities, Chame divyam, they are all transcendental. And the one person who knows this, for him there is not even a chance, you can say. He is not going to take birth in this material world again. He is going to come to my abode and live with me. That is what the shloka says, right? So this is, we can say, the benefit of our moment, the benefit of our Krishna consciousness movement. That's simply by understanding that Krishna is, who is Krishna? Who knows Krishna? Raise your hands. If I ask you, who's Krishna? Anyone can answer that? So simple, so simple. Who's Krishna? It's past time. Yes.
Supreme personality of Godhead.
Exactly. Supreme personality. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. So in this very sentence, there are two words, right? The supreme and personality. Right? Supreme personality, even Godhead is there. But major thing is these two words. So from these two words, what we can understand that Krishna is a person. Right? We are also persons, right? So what's the difference? He's person. I'm person, you're person. What's the difference? Anyone can answer this? See, this shows how much we are thinking. Even if I would have been there, because I've prepared for it, I know it. But let's say if I would have been sitting there, it would have been difficult for me also. But give it a try, just think about it, please.
He is unlimited, we are limited.
Okay. And the very answer was in the first word. Who is Krishna? Krishna is supreme personality. He is supreme in every aspect. We can see finite distance. We can see infinite. We can eat little portions. We can eat mountains. Giriraj Puja. Just behind here having that painting. He's lifting Giriraj Govardhan. After that pastime, there's so many foodstuffs. Lord actually appears in Giriraj. He's taking all the offerings, eating everything. He's eating and after that also he's telling Anyor, bring more. So he's like what? He's supreme in every aspect. That is what we have to understand. He is like us, but without any defects. Can anyone imagine a person without any defects here? I'm just saying imagine, it would be difficult, right? Every one of us has defects. Be it anyone born in this material world. We all have our defects. So how can we understand a person who is just like us and he's having no defects? It's difficult, right? So it is very difficult. It's not easy to understand him. And in the same case, it is not very easy to understand anyone. I can't just pick any one of you and I can say that, I understand you. It's a very difficult thing. That's why we have this branch of science known as hands. Which branch of science helps you understand people, or through which you learn their behavioral patterns? Psychology. What you know? Philosophy is when you understand it. Psychology is the right answer. So that's why we are having psychology. But this psychology is also not a true thing, because even in the psychology, there are so many different branches and there are so many different schools of thinking. Right? Have you ever heard? हम लोग Google कर सकते हैं. बहुत different schools है इसके. So there are many different schools also. And you know what? Let's say if you call all the psychologists and you ask them to come here, you just take one person and ask him to understand, just try to understand him. It's very difficult. Very difficult. They can come together, research him in and out, but they won't be able to understand him. That's the complexity. That's the complexity. How much complex we are as human beings. And here, just to understand us, it's so difficult. So what to even think about understanding Krishna? Who's supreme in every aspect. So difficult. So here we are talking about how to understand Krishna, who is the supreme personality of Godhead, who is the soul of the soul, Paramatma. Even to understand the soul is so difficult, right? He is the soul of the soul. So just to understand him is so difficult. That is the whole point. Why are we trying to do that? And it becomes even more difficult to understand by being, us being very small. How can a small thing understand something which is very big? Right? And the second criteria is to understand something which is not perceivable to us. Let's say we are sitting in this hall, I can see you, I can interact with you, in person. You all can ask me questions, you all can ask doubts, you all can raise your hands, express the concerns and everything. But at the same time, you can't interact like this with Krishna. Has any one of you earlier interacted with Krishna in this manner, the way we are sitting here? Maybe Arjuna, because hearing Gita from God. So that is the whole thing. That is what we have to understand, that because of our own impurity. Why are we not able to understand? Because of our own impurity, we are not able to understand. What is this impurity? You know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, each and every living entity, we have got relationship with Him, right? We are having relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of whom we are having so many other relationships in this material world. It's because of Him that we have these relationships in this material world. If we never had a relationship with Him, there would have been no chance of having any relationship with anyone else. So that is what we have to understand, that and this relationship is very important. That is the whole point that we are kind of understanding. But understanding Krishna in our present state is very difficult. Why? Because He is supremely pure. And we are contaminated with lust, anger, greed, envy. These are all contamination. But even as such, it is very difficult to understand Krishna. But if we understand Krishna, what will happen? We get a chance to go back home, back to God and live with Him. And this is explained by Krishna. Who can understand me? That is also given in Bhagavad Gita, wherein he says that Manusyanam Sahasreshu Kaschyatyati Siddhe. So wherein he says that there are so many people who create a narrative of what? That we are spiritual. We are following spirituality, but in actuality they are not doing so. They just want to reap the benefits which come from it. That by being spiritual, we are not following any principles, but we just have an attire, we just coax some philosophy, present it to people, and just cheat people. But we are not actually spiritual. There are so many so-called Babas and everyone, they sell mantras. They say, there's no need of following any rules and regulation. You pay me this amount, take this mantra, and then within 6 months you become God. So many people who say by doing this exercise you can become God. By doing this austerity you can become God. But it is not so easy, So people are being cheated. That's the whole point, And even, let's say, Krishna says what? That out of these millions, Manusyanam Saraswati, thousands of them, there is someone, who is able to understand me, who is willing to understand me. And out of that, there may be, someone closer to that point of perfection. But out of them, there is only one person who is actually able to understand me. So if we can just think about the probability, how much difficult it is to understand Krishna. And one may question, this was supposed to be about Lord Balaram. Why are we speaking about Krishna then? When did this topic get diverted from, understanding the source of spiritual strength, Lord Balaram, and then we have Supreme Personality of Godhead coming in the picture. So why is that so? आप में से किसी ने ऐसा सोचा अभी तक सुन रहे थे? कि हम लोग क्यों बलराम जी के बारे में डिस्कशन है, कृष्णा के बारे में क्यों बताया जा रहा है यहाँ पे? Anyone? Raise your hands. 2-3 people. If I ask you all to rewind what we have just discussed, how many of you all will be able to do it? In points, 5 points, whatever you all can remember. I won't be asking the points, I'm asking who all will be able to do it, you know. Anyone who can say that I can summarize this thing in 5 points? Anyone? So, this is what this particular thing was for. To make you all ready to hear actually about Lord Balaram. Here comes Lord Balaram. Now you have to hear, very carefully. You just heard, about Krishna, how he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, imperishable, supreme in every aspect. There's no one equal to him. There's no one above him and everything. But then we come to know that he has got an elder brother. How shocking is that? Someone who we can't understand, and then we say that he has got, an elder brother. So, is it easy for us to understand Lord Balaram then? How many of you all can think easy to understand Lord Balaram? कितने लोग बोल रहे हैं? कृष्णा को समझना इतना डिफिकल्ट है, उनके बड़े भाई को समझना कितना डिफिकल्ट हो. So this is what we have to understand, that to understand Balaram, Lord Balaram is even more difficult. This is what we call how spiritual life is very practical. You have to understand at least this much. What is our standing, We can talk all good and everything, pastimes and everything. But when it comes to understanding things, our understanding is practically nil. Can't understand things. So this is what we have to see, And just how does this thing fit into it? To understand Balaram, to understand Krishna. Well, you can see philosophically, you cannot understand it. There's no point, or we can't say it fits into any philosophical understanding. Through philosophy, we can't understand Lord Balaram or Krishna's activity. We can say, just as Krishna is expanding himself, Krishna expands himself to enjoy various potencies, right? To actually personally enjoy. That's why he's expanding, right? But now, anyone may question, why is Krishna expanding? Why is he doing something? So I can ask, any one of you, let's say, let me catch someone. So what's your name? Vikas. So Vikas, तो आपको ब्रेकफास्ट में क्या खाना अच्छा लगता है? इडली डोसा, कुछ पोहा, लेट्स. क्यों अच्छा लगता है? क्या रीजन है? Personal preference, right? Personally अच्छा. Similarly, when we talk about, about Krishna, how Krishna is a person. So there may be some people who question, why is he doing that? Just to enjoy. Why is he expanding? Why is he creating things? Because he's a person. That's his personal choice. He can do anything as he desires. Just like we have our own freedom to choose what we like in our breakfast or not. He's Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can do anything. That is how we understand. Sometimes people get hung up on this one question. Why is he doing this? Why Lord does like this? Why is he treating someone like this? He's such a good person, Why is he getting in this bad phase of time? But you don't know what that person has done in lifetimes. You have never seen how he's acted in the lifetimes. Or you may think, this person, is such a rascal and he's getting so much money, He's such a cheater. We don't know what he has done. Krishna knows. Similarly, there are personal preferences of Lord, and why he is doing that particularly. So simply there is no worldly logic to understand Lord Balaram. And Krishna, by his own desire, expands. And we are all expansions of Krishna, right? We are all Jiva Tattvas. So we are all expansions of the Lord. That is what we have to understand. And who's Lord Balaram? Now let's come to what position he holds in. Lord Balaram is Adi Guru. What does the Adi Guru means? He is the first expansion. Adi means the very first. Right? That's Guru. And Adi means the first. So he is the first Guru. And if you see who is Lord Balaram, he is the very first expansion of Lord Krishna. And from him come various incarnations, other incarnations. You have your Shankha, Aniruddha, Pradyumna. Then from that Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Then from that Narayan teacher again, the second expansion of Sankarshan, Aniruddha, and all these four. Then there are different expansion. It goes on. So the very first expansion of Lord is Lord Balaram. Very first expansion, and through him everything else takes place. And what to speak about that? The whole spiritual world that we see is actually expansion of Lord Balaram. Just imagine this, that this whole particular creation is just an expansion. Not only this material creation, but also the spiritual creation. Very spiritual planet where Krishna is there, present there, as expansion of Lord Balaram. So how does one understand that? Anyone who's studying physics over here has chosen physics as his choose. How difficult is it to understand, the expansion of an entire universe? That too, it's not material universe. We are not talking about some Milky Ways, some galaxies. We are talking about an entirely different, spiritual world. It's not within this cosmos or anything, whatever terms you use to define. How much difficult is that? Or you can say, just to determine or just to describe direction. How do you describe this direction? Scalar vector philosophy. That's how you do it. But then, how much will you be able to describe it? You can just represent it. If I ask you to present it for me, is it easy? Not easy. Right? So someone who studied physics, and this physics is for sure because I also got into this. I had some basic knowledge of this thing, but to kind of know this, I heard lecture and I kind of got the gist of it, what it is actually. So we can't even understand material mundane physics, right? हम में से बहुत सारे लोगों को ये चीज़ समझी भी नहीं होगी जब स्केलर वेक्टर में बात हुई डायरेक्शन कॉस्मोस गैलेक्सीज मिल्की वेज क्या चल रहा है डिस्कवरी पे कभी कभार बचपन में देख लेते थे उसके बाद का कुछ आइडिया नहीं हमको राइट सो वी कांट इवन इमेजिन दैट मटेरियल mundane physics हमको समझ नहीं आ रही दिस इज एन entirely different discussion of this subject matter spiritual world this is transcendental physics material physics हमको नहीं समझ आ रहा we are talking about transcendental physics. What is the spiritual world? Just like in lotus, Krishna wants to go somewhere, lotus closes. The distance becomes shorter, and then he reaches miles and miles. He used to take cows from Gokul to Barsana, but if you go now in Vrindavan and you just travel to Barsana, such a far distance, but he used to go there every day. Take his lakhs of cows there. Bring them back, safe and sound. फिजिकली तो बहुत दूर है ना कैसे पॉसिबल होगा हम लोग खुद एक दिन चल के जाए सुबह निकले तो रात में शायद से पहुंचे अगर पैदल चल रहे हैं अच्छे खासे स्पीड पे तो it's difficult. So what about this transcendental physics? How can we understand that? How can we see this? How can we understand even about spiritual world, which is just an expansion of Lord Balaram? Okay. You have to understand how great he is. That's why I told you, to stay awake during this whole discussion. Now, what we have to see that this is not possible for us to understand like this. But let's say if we are informed about this, or we are actually informed about this through Shastras, which we can understand by having faith in it. Right? And how many of us have faith? आप में से कितने लोग होते हैं कि हाँ मैं किसी चीज पे विश्वास कर सकता हूँ मेरे अंदर विश्वास है कुछ करने में anyone कोई भी चीज करनी है one person but practically we are doing everything which we are doing in our life is because we are having faith in it right let's say if you all were informed or if you all didn't have faith in coming here let's say many of you would have thought we'll be machine gunned over here हम लोग आएंगे ऐसा मशीन गन लेके खत्म कर देंगे कोई आता आप में से you all expected it's going to be nice kirtan nice katha of Lord and that is how we are going to spend our Sunday evening enjoying that's what you all thought and I hope that is going through अभी चल रहा है वो मैंने इसमें बीच में philosophical angle, understanding angle डाल करके इसको पूरा एक class बना दिया. But that is how important it is, to actually participate in tomorrow's festival both with spirit and with enthusiasm. So we need to understand the spirit behind this particular ritual, right? So we are all having faith in every activity or in that we are doing here in this material world. Similarly, we have to have faith in Shastra, which is spiritual knowledge. This is what will give us, what we are. And then someone will question, that most of us are having this faith, but how strong is it? How many of you all have Krishna book over here? Krishna book आप में से किसके पास है? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many are here? Any guesses? About 50? 50 में से we are having, I can say about 50 तो आसानी से होंगे. 70 somewhere around, will be 70, right? Including everyone. उसमें से 7 से 8 लोगों के पास. It's 110. So if we know that we've got relationship with Krishna, why are we not having that? The spiritual knowledge. We should take it at least. That's the whole point. So we need to have, this transcendental faith. Because we are now struggling in this dark material world, which is damp, cold, and we are always tortured by something or another. Right? That is what happens, You get out in the material world, even if it's bright like anything, there are moments, when you feel like, what am I doing? That's the actual darkness of it. When you actually start questioning your own existence, is this what I'm supposed to? You get so much frustrated by the exploitation outside that you think, यही करना है क्या मुझको लाइफ में? मैंने सोचा था इसमें तो मुझको थोड़ा बहुत, I'll enjoy doing this thing. But in actuality, it is not like that. So we are always disappointed. Our efforts to stay happy, our efforts, to do something good, are always frustrated by material energy, through some way or another. But what we have to understand is that there is also one kind of disappointment, you see. Trying to understand something good, and we are being disappointed. So, anyone else, please don't disappoint us further. You all can put your phones on silent now. Okay. So we are trying to do something, and we are always disappointed. Right? But from this, we actually have hope by reading scripture that there is a spiritual world where there is no birth, no death, no diseases. There's a place like this where we are supposed to be, So, the point over here is this material world in the scripture is compared like a desert. Right? So, जानते हैं desert क्या होता है? तो वहाँ पे we are all just like people who are searching for water in desert. But how many of you all have seen, water in the desert? मरुस्थान में या रेगिस्तान जिसको हम लोग बोलते हैं. मरुस्थान is kind of much more on the Sanskrit word, Sanskrit side, and रेगिस्तान is which we use in Urdu. Right? So रेगिस्तान में पानी मिलता है क्या नहीं? But we are all searching for water. Our condition is like that. मृग छाया दिखती है रेगिस्तान में. That is what we call mirage. We can see, by some fluctuation, we think that there is water. So we keep running, but that source of water, instead of closing the distance, it seems like this distance is increasing. Because that is just an illusion. There's no water there. Similarly, we are in this material world, we are trapped over here, thinking that there is happiness, there is satisfaction, there's a real relationship present over here, there's real enjoyment over here. I can stay happy, I can stay safe, I can do things what I want and still go on. That is what we think, right? But it doesn't happen so. But you know what? People who are most frustrated, at least they come to the Lord and then they get hope, that there is a spiritual world out there where there is immense water. It's water itself. And let's not talk about only water, that water is actually nectar. That water is actually nectar. This whole spiritual world is like nectar, wherein, when walking is like dancing, a simple speech is like singing. Every vibration in the air is filled with the sound of flutes from Lord Krishna's lotus lips, which is just playing on his flute, the sounds of the flutes. So beautiful, Katha, Natyam, Ganam, becoming, one verse which describes, every walk is like a dance. You can see persons around, sometimes when they are really happy, they start dancing on the road. Sometimes we also, while hearing songs, something like that, which make us happy, we also do some steps little by little. Someone who's much more indulgent in sports, you might see him, doing that bowling action on the field, batting or something like that. But in spiritual world, everyone is dancing. What does dancing signify? When does a person dance? When does a person dance? No hands raised.
When he is in joy,
When he is happy, when he is feeling joy, then he dances. So just imagine, the level of happiness, because even their walks seem like they're dancing. They're so happy. Spiritually, they are actually in bliss, spiritual bliss. So that is what we have to understand. How these things are going on, and that entire thing, even the living entities there, are just an expansion of Lord Balaram. Why is he manifesting himself? Is to serve Krishna. The only reason he is doing so much is to serve Krishna. He is the personality of God who is serving the original personality of God. Srila Prabhupada said, difference between Krishna and Balaram is just that Balaram is white Krishna and Krishna is black Balaram. Anyone understood this? No? I'll repeat it again. The difference between Krishna and Balaram is that Krishna is black Balaram and Balaram is white Krishna. Now did you all understand it? Who understood it? Raise your hand. And no punishment. Bench पे नहीं खड़ा करेंगे. Yes.
Krishna is himself Balaram.
Huh?
Krishna is Balaram and Balaram.
Actually, there's no difference. Just in complexion. That's it. That is the very difference. So this is what we are trying to understand in one way. And now the question will arise: how can a person serve himself? By expanding. That is his personal preference, Like our Prabhu, he had got his choice in his breakfast. In our personal preference. So that is what we are telling, how difficult it is to understand Krishna and Balaram, especially. Krishna you can understand, but what about Balaram, So this is the whole point that, apart from, manifesting a spiritual world, Lord Balaram has also different expansions. That is what we have to understand, that he is original Guru, and he, by his own personal example, teaches us how best to serve Krishna. That is the whole point. That is why Lord Balaram is there. He's given the title of Adi Guru. Now, apart from expanding the spiritual world, the ground, the sky, the trees, the people there, these are all just service of Lord Balaram in Shantarati. That is how the Brahmin thread, you can say, the umbrella, everything, even the shoes in the legs of Krishna is Lord Balaram. Can anyone understand this? Proceed. So these are all service in Shantaras. Or Shantarati, better to say. Shantarati. Then, even though Balaram is elder brother of Krishna, right? But he's serving Krishna. Even if our own daily household life, have you ever seen someone who's elder is serving someone junior? Let's say there are two brothers, One is elder and one is younger. So usually what is the case? The elder one serves the younger, or younger one serves the elder? Younger one serves the elder, right? But here the case is opposite. Here the elder one is serving the younger one. But you see what? The example comes in like this, when Lord Krishna is running all around the fields, while raising the cows and everything, he becomes tired. That point of time, Lord Balaram massages his legs. That's how he's serving him. But at the same time, when Lord Balaram is tired, Krishna massages Lord Balaram's legs. But now the question may arise, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's supposed to take service, but how is he serving? How is he serving? Any response to this? He is meant to take service, He is the highest, that is what we discussed, that is what is the position that we just mentioned in the Shastras, that Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Radha Govindas, Sarva Karan Karana, in Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma states this, and he is the topmost. So how is he serving, someone? How is that possible?
Because in this situation, Krishna is younger brother. So that's why his duty is to serve his elder brother.
No, the correct answer is that because he is the supreme, he is showing by personal example how to serve. Right? Because him being supreme, because people are going to follow him, right? The person who's a leader, the local people, or you can say, the general people follow the leader, right? The way the leader does, the way the population will do. So Krishna, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, does this in order to teach us. That is why he is, doing this. So this is known as Dasyarati. This is how Lord Balaram is serving Krishna as a servant, as a Dasya, That is the whole point. And if you see, in today's world especially, it's very difficult. In Vedic culture, the elder brother was given the same position as one's father. But if you see today's culture, it's like every one of us are equal. Each and everyone will serve each other. It's democracy. That's the whole thing, Every one of us holds equal right. So there is this understanding of serving or service mentality is gone nowadays. So that's why it becomes a little bit difficult for us to relate with these pastimes, because there is also some cultural background which is associated with this. But since we are kind of, we can say we are disconnected from our culture, for us it becomes difficult even to understand basic relationship between two brothers. One who's younger, one who's older. So you can just imagine how much, the impact of culture is on a particular person's raising and awareness. And especially in Western country where Srila Prabhupada went, they never knew this. For them, younger brother serving elder brother doesn't sound like, something that one should do. And still in those particular places, or there Srila Prabhupada, whatever paintings that you're seeing, these beautiful, beautiful paintings, these are all, drawn by the instructions of Srila Prabhupada by his Western disciples, who never knew what the culture was. Still they were able to produce something which is so beautiful, so enchanting, so immersive. So that's what we have to understand. Now, what we have to see that is Krishna respects Lord Balaram, He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's showing everyone. And sometimes what happens is that during these courses also, they just start playing, once they are done, relaxing and everything, they just play like friends. So this particular exchange between Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna this is how Lord Balaram is serving Lord Krishna in Sakhyarati. So there are primarily 5 rasas, right? So out of which first we have covered is Shanta, Shantarati. Then second we have covered what? Dasyarati. Now what we covered? Sakhyarati, right? Remaining are 2. Now you have to understand, even the book which I mentioned to you, the Krishna book, there are different pastimes of the Lord, in total. So you can just look for that book outside, in which there is a chapter, wherein Lord Krishna is being chastised, or you can say corrected and rebuked by Lord Balaram. There comes a point wherein Lord Balaram is rebuking Krishna. Why is he doing so? Because he is his elder brother. As an elder brother, he is doing that. Just like in case of Rukmi, And Lord Krishna kidnapped Rukmini, and he was coming just because the brother of Rukmini, he was chasing Krishna, and he was kind of fighting because the marriage of Rukmini was decided to be done with whom? Anyone have any idea? See, again, no hands raised. So we don't learn from our mistakes, right? That is why we are in this material world. We go on committing same mistakes again and again. So Shishupal was the friend of Rukmini. So he wanted, this is the arrangement that I have made, and every one of them should agree. How can Krishna, take him, take her practically? So he goes there and he's chasing, he's fighting and everything. And what happens is Krishna defeats him, binds him, drags him like anything as a sacrificial animal. That's what's mentioned. He just drags him, brings him ahead, and he was going to kill him. But out of affection from Queen Rukmini, you know what he did? He didn't kill him. He just gave him a punk haircut. You understand? A haircut. Nowadays we pay thousands of rupees. यहाँ थोड़े बाल हटा देते हैं, यहाँ थोड़े रख देते हैं, like half and half. So he gave him a punk haircut, which was actually considered worse than death, because he was a Kshatriya, Rukmini was a Kshatriya, and to just disfigure him was an insult like anything. An insult to a Kshatriya is similar to death, or even worse than death. So when Krishna, did this thing, and when Lord Balaram saw this, he came and he said, whatever was done and done, even though he behaved with you like an enemy, you shouldn't have done like this. He was rebuking Krishna. So because he is your brother-in-law, and just imagine how she would feel, how Rukmini would feel. So here we can see that Lord Balaram is also chastising. He's chastising or rebuking. Not chastising is not the correct word practically. He's correcting and rebuking Krishna. That is what is being evident. So this behavior is Vatsalyarati, because he's behaving as an elder brother, which we just heard. An elder brother is like a father in the Vedic culture. So he's instructing, and Krishna is following. Krishna is doing that. Similarly, there are different pastimes of the Lord. Krishna is having his confidential pastimes with the gopis, which are very confidential. We can just kind of mention it. We are not eligible to discuss it. Similarly, Krishna is having his own set of gopis. Lord Balaram is also having his own set of gopis. So this is also a rasa, a rati, we can say. But Balaram, being an elder brother, doesn't interfere, because Krishna is having his own pastime. He is having his own pastime. Because the desire of Lord, is so intense. The desire of Lord Balaram is so intense to serve Krishna that he manifests, and we can say, he takes an avesh, that by avesh or by transcendently entering the personage of Ananga Manjari as Ananga Manjari. Who is Ananga Manjari? She is the younger sister of Srimati Radharani. So even though in those past times he is serving the Lord. So this is how Lord Balaram is serving through Madhurya Rati. Right? So very first thing that we discussed was Shantarati, how he is serving as the Brahmin thread, umbrella, shoes, and everything. Then there was Dasyarati, wherein he is massaging Krishna's lotus feet, and another one is the Ananta Shayana. The another example of Dasyarati is how he is serving as the Ananta Shayana. You can see Lord in the feature of Lord Vishnu is lying down on Ananta Shesha with his roots. He is giving him shade, and it's so it's very soft. It's cool for him to relax. So that is also one thing. That is how he is serving the Lord. Then we covered Shanta, Dasya. Then comes Sakhya, how he is playing with him. Right? Then after Sakhya came Vatsalya, how as a parent he is correcting the Lord, rebuking the Lord. And this was the final word. Whereas Ananga Manjari, he is serving the Lord in Madhurya Rati. So we can just see, that in what different ways, Lord Balaram is serving. And the very meaning Srila Prabhupada used to say that Balaram means one who takes pleasure in strength. Rama means to take pleasure, and Bala means strength, right? So this is what we have to understand. So Lord Balaram is actually giver of spiritual strength. He is giving the spiritual strength, and as Adi Guru, he is serving Krishna. And what is the duty of Guru? The duty of Guru is to instruct others. Do as I am doing. That is how we will benefit. That's why Guru instructs us, right? So he is Adi Guru. He is also instructing us. So now one can, just imagine we are discussing about this strength and everything, but how will we be able to get that strength? Because to advance in spiritual life, that strength is required. Any one of you who doesn't want that strength to advance in spiritual life? Anyone? कोई ऐसा जिसको नहीं चाहिए बलराम जी से बल नहीं चाहिए जिसको कोई है ऐसा? We all want strength to advance in spiritual life. So how can we get it? So that is what is mentioned over here, that the strength of Lord Balaram is transmitted through Parampara system, and therefore the Vaishnava Guru is understood to be the manifestation of the strength of Lord Balaram. That is what we say, One should always take guidance from one who is superior, should have a guru to instruct him in his various aspects of life. That's what we do. So this is how, that particular thing is coming down in Parampara through a bona fide spiritual master, a Vaishnava Guru. And one gets this strength from following the instructions of Guru, who is getting the strength through Parampara from Lord Balaram. So that is the whole thing. There are many mundane people, who are saying that, to perform spiritual life, physical strength is very important. Balaram means what? Physical strength, because we can see, he was wrestling there with that Mushtika, Chamur and all. They were wrestling together there in Mathura to Kamsas. And then we can see how Lord Balaram just dragged the river, and he was just dragging it like anything. And then we can see there are multiple pastimes, killing the Dhenukasur and everything. He was just, he just got his tail and he just swung him around and threw him like anything. They say that bodily strength is very much required. So you have to first become bodily fit, and then you can practice spiritual life. These people, they don't have intelligence. Bodily strength is like very insignificant. Very insignificant. Just like, there's an ant. The ant is very powerful compared to its stature, right? But, when you're walking, you don't even notice when we trample on an ant, right? Sometimes that happens, Some ants are walking and you just step on it and it's gone. So the material world is like that. The material nature is like that, One swoop and you're gone. That's it. You just freeze and you're gone. So we're very insignificant. That's why, when you want to tell someone who's insignificant, when we say you're an ant in front of me, that is the significant. That is why we say people, तो चीटी हो मेरे सामने ऐसे बोलते चीटी की तरह मसल लो से अलग-अलग कोट्स यूज करते हैं लोग बाहर. So this is why they use it, because it's so insignificant. That is what we have to understand. So this bodily strength is also insignificant. At some point of time, when your peak gets down, you're just going to lose all the bodily strength, and you're going to become invalid in terms of bodily strength. Then what? Then how are you going to understand Lord through spiritual life? So this is not a valid thing. So that's why Srila Prabhupada said, we all should ask Lord Balaram for strength. Strength is spiritual strength, not material strength. That is what we have to kind of, get a better understanding. So this was kind of all that we had for this particular session. Now you all can ask questions based on this. Or if you have not understood any point,